In order to gain a deeper understanding of drug addiction, we sought the insights of healthcare professionals specializing in addiction treatment. We visited Primrose Rehab and Wellness Center located on Kiambu Road in Thindigua for an in-depth discussion on addiction and the rehabilitation process.
I'm Joseph Kamau. I'm a psychologist by profession. And initially I was working somewhere else in a healthcare setup. And that's when I saw that there is a big gap when it comes to the treatment of substance use disorders, especially on trauma-focused treatment model. Trauma-focused means that our treatment process is mostly focused on solving those traumatic childhood experiences. Primrose Rehab and Wellness is a substance use disorders treatment center. And when we say substance use treatment, we mean treatment for alcoholism and also for drug use, for drug addiction. We were founded in 2018 and we've been operating since then. And I think since launch, we've helped over 1,000 patients. So that's when we decided together with another partner to establish this place. When we established this place, our main goal was to focus on those traumatic childhood experiences as the biggest cause of addiction and other mental health conditions. When it comes to addiction, we don't look at the statistics. We say addiction is a relapsing disorder, meaning that we can say like someone is fully recovered. We tell them it's a chronic brain disease, meaning that you live with it for a lifetime. And the only thing you can do, like managing addiction is a continuous process. Even after the rehab, you have to keep doing follow-up to help the people who have gone through the program remain sober. Even when you've stayed sober, when you've gone through the rehab process and you've stayed sober for 5 years, there's still a very high chance of relapse. And the relapse begins with that one bottle. Unlike for the general populations who have not become addicted to substances, for someone who has become addicted, getting back to active addiction is very easy. Of course, there are trends, especially there are drugs that are mostly abused by the youth. Bangi is like a major one. There is Mira. That one is a major one. And it has very, very, very severe medical impact. And a lot of people have present with, a lot of people are abusing these substances. The Mira, the Jaba, and the Bangi. Heroin is also a major one. Nowadays, they choma it with Bangi. Wanaita Kete. So the consequences are usually quite dire. The biggest challenge is that there are a lot of people that need this service and they can't afford it. Most of the times they come to us asking for help. And given that we need finances to run this place, we can't take them for free. We do take some pro bono cases, but we can't take a lot of cases because we can't afford it. Where we are as a country, issues to do with mental health are becoming an epidemic. And it also seems like the government has started paying attention. So we are very hopeful that in the future, there will be programs that will be able to help people who can't afford this service. We do have involuntary admissions. And involuntary admissions means that the patient hasn't accepted to come. It's the family that have made the decision for the patient to come. And the thing we need to understand is that addiction affects a part of the brain that is responsible for insight. In that part, we call it the insular cortex. So for this person who hasn't accepted that they need help, not accepting is actually a symptom of the addiction. There are some you'll find they are presenting with psychosis. That means it's like they've started, in lay terms, they've started going mad. And for such a person to make a decision to come here, you can't expect them to make a decision because they are not in a mental state to make an informed decision. So it's up to the family and bring them here. So when they come here, We start the medical management immediately, and most of the times you'll find that the medications help regulate their emotions and helps them calm down. So mostly they will cooperate. There are those probably even when you intervene medically, they'll still be problematic. So we have also to enhance on security.
Sarah Atieno Onyango, a dedicated psychologist at Primrose Rehab and Wellness Center, provides an in-depth exploration into the rehabilitation process and underscores the significance of rehabilitating individuals struggling with drug addiction.
Okay, my name is Sarah Onyango Tieno. I'm a Sarah Tieno Onyango, whichever way. I'm a psychologist by profession. Addiction, in simple words, nitasema is a chronic brain disease which is relapsing in nature, characterized by compulsive use, irrespective of negative consequences. So basically, tukisema is a brain disease, it directly affects the brain, like directly. Compulsion, meaning that the person is compelled to or forced to use the substance, and it's not that they don't know the negative consequences. They are fully aware of the negative consequences, but they are using because of the disease itself, not because they want to. Ever since I was young, I wanted to like work with patients, and then when I was in campus, I wanted to do mental health stuff, like go deep into abnormal psychology. I went and I worked with very few patients when walikuwa na abnormal psychology, and I will note that most of them ilikuwa inaandikwa drug induced, substance induced. So that is how I found myself now in the field of addiction. The most important thing when you get a patient ni building rapport. It's even the most important thing, because you want rapport. Why? Because you want information. This information is going to be very essential, even in counseling. Then after building rapport with the patient, ye mwenyewe through the friendliness, atakwambia this is the substances I've been using. But again, since it's also medical, we want to ascertain that ni ukweli ama ni substance gani pia anatumia ambayo hajasema. So mtafanya testing. So between testing and information and testing rather, kuna hiyo client intake. So generally you'll go through the whole process of client intake. You'll take conjoint information now from family members, if any, just to add on the information. And then after that, if there is need for detox, ata go through detox. And then the rest of the other treatment procedures atapitia. So that is psychoeducation, psychotherapy, individual therapy, group therapy, and conjoint session with the family. The brain, it's made up of chemicals, is on neurotransmitters. And there is a way that these neurotransmitters are supposed to work, but at a balance, at a homeostasis. So these substances will either activate them or deactivate them. Meaning they are going to directly affect the CNS. So you know the CNS is either stimulated or depressed. So for example, bang, it's a stimulant. Other people have put it in its own class, in natural cannabinoid. It has stimulated the CNS. Alcohol will first stimulate, then depress the CNS, meaning that the functions are going to be altered. Also, they form pseudos with the neurotransmitters, with the dopamine, with the norepinephrine. They form pseudos with those chemicals. So you find that even in the treatment of bang, like removing those pseudos inakuwa kazi. That is why someone can be in anaweza kuwa alitritiwa addiction ya bang, ameacha but bado anacheka peke yake. Like those effects are still there because of the pseudo dopamines. So treatment will take place in 3 phases. Hiyo ni at an average, assuming that everyone is going to finish 90 days, because treatment ya rehabilitation in Kenya ni 90 days. So the first one inaitwa primary treatment, secondary treatment, and we have tertiary prevention. So primary treatment mostly is just your orientation, the client adapt to the institution, ajue kutangamana na wengine vizuri, ensuring this drug adherence, understanding of why the patient is here, understanding of the disease itself. And then secondary treatment, personally how I'll describe it, I say this is a stage where now you teach the client kujijua, self-awareness, self-concept. If the self-image was damaged, sawa. And also facilitating them bonding with their families if at all the relationship was broken, the relationship was whatever. And then now relapse prevention, from the word now relapse, tertiary prevention, ni ile time yenye now you prepare them for the outside world, because in the process of treatment lazima kukuwe na integration back to the society. And then irrespective of level of usage, most of the time treatment is the same. The only thing that differs is medication and the class of medication. Kuna mwenye utatumia like class ya pili, class ya tatu of drugs and all that, and maybe the amount of detox to use and all that, whether the person will use oral or IV, that is the only thing that differs. But treatment is the same, only that the medication varies. Like kama kuna mwenye atameza Panadol na kuna mwenye atapewa Zulu, MR. So no, depending on the intensity of headache, but it's still painkiller. Not everyone comes to rehabilitation wanting to be here. That is one thing. So zingine it's forced. So when a patient is amekuwa denial for quite a long time, it becomes hard to penetrate your world ya your patient. Jutapata ako aggressive, saa zingine ama what do we call it, anakata treatment. And I think that is the biggest challenge. A success story yenye naambianga kila mtu is of a patient mwenye alikuwa na schizophrenia. And the schizophrenia was drug induced. Na the patient, the disease ilikuwa ime reject treatment. I don't know how to say it in simpler terms. So it took like 8 months to actually for the treatment to work and the patient to start like functioning normally. He was kind of old. So the success of the story is that he no longer uses, he's married, has a family, and is able to function normally. There's a stage ukifika in substance use, even systematic desensitization haiwezi kusaidia. The only thing that can help you is seeking professional help. So kama umejaribu kukata, ikashindikana kabisa, just seek professional help. Because the withdrawal symptoms, when you try and go cold turkey, inaua. It kills actually. It's there. You can die. So that you ensure like your life is that of quality, it's better you just go for professional help. But kama it's just abuse and you can go for 1 week without using, then you can go through systematic desensitization, where if you're taking like 4 bottles, you go to 3 for a while, and then 2 for a while, and then and also counseling, because sometimes utapata you started because of something, maybe stress, depression, loss, grief. So maybe the nini itself is not even the addiction itself. The problem is the causative agent.
Addiction is a major issue in the society. It is imperative that we be intentional in ending this silent pandemic that is slowly killing the future of our country.